right. Why don't we get started here? Hello, everyone. My name is Roy Kagami, and I'm an enterprise account executive here at E42. Thanks for joining us today for our webinar, where we'll be covering how artificial intelligence can enhance your entire accounts payable process when it comes to the accuracy of processing your invoices. And we all know that AI has certainly been a hot topic lately, which is probably why a lot of you have joined us today. We're certainly seeing a rapid adoption of different AI solutions just because I think every industry right now is being faced with the increased cost of doing business. So automation is really more important than ever, right? It's really going to be the framework for our webinar today. So for a little bit of context, when we talk about just the general value proposition around implementing AI for your AP process, it's really going to start with efficiency. You want to automate the tasks that your team is doing manually right now. That way they can focus on things that are adding a little bit more strategic value to your organization. And for a lot of companies, what that means is being able to take on higher volumes without necessarily having to hire additional staff, which I think, of course, is going to have a positive impact on your productivity and just being able to do more with the resources that you already have. And then last but not least, we want to bring some operational cost savings by reducing delays and errors that just naturally come with human intervention and doing things manually. So really the goal here is to reduce your cycle times and eliminate issues that come along like late and inaccurate payments, which is going to just overall, right, help you build better vendor relationships in the run. So just a quick side note before we get started here, as we go through the webinar, we'll be posting some poll questions that we'd like for you to participate in. And we also want to encourage you to post your questions in the Q&A section that you'll see down at the bottom of your Zoom app. We'll leave 10, 15 minutes or so towards the end to try to open it up for a larger discussion as far as Q&A goes. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce everybody to Jonathan Jewett.
Hi, thanks very much, Roy. Really appreciate it. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I'm Jonathan Jewett. I'm the Chief Growth Officer here at E42 based out of Boston, and glad to be with you. Looking forward to a really good discussion and hopefully giving you a lot of really valuable points to walk away from out of this webinar. So, again, the question we're looking to answer here really is, why is accuracy important in accounts payable? And I'm sure for everyone on the line who's a financial professional, accuracy is everything, right? It's, their numbers, they're precise. And so accuracy in your AP process is especially important because that's money going out the door. So you need to make sure that, again, there are no mistakes and something like that. So some of the key areas we'll talk about today include technology's contribution to making sure that your AP process is as accurate as it possibly can be, especially when it comes to invoice processing. Straight through processing, so making sure that as much of your end-to-end AP process is as automated as possible. The less manual effort, the less manual work required, the lower chance of errors. Making sure that data is matched in a number of different ways as well as validated. And finally, just the key point of integrating with your ERP. For most financial people, this is going to be the single source of truth, really the most important system that you work in today. So making sure that a solution to help you automate AP is fully integrated with your ERP. And that's working as it's supposed to in a very synchronized manner. And then finally, what we'll end with at the end, but just before QA, is a little bit about E42. This is the business we're in. And so we'll tell you a little bit about what we do and open that door to certainly future conversations if folks are interested. So why don't we go ahead and get started? So why is accuracy important in the AP process? I think we all have our own answers to that. So, what I would kind of put out there is one of the most important reasons is that accuracy has a direct impact on your bottom line. So reduction in costs, making sure there's no costly errors that are being committed, improve cash flow and visibility, increase compliance, especially for those of you in regulated industries, enhance supplier relationships. It's so paramount to have good relationships with your vendors and your supply chain these days. They don't like to get paid incorrectly or paid late. So making sure that, that's happening as it should. And ultimately improve business insights. So making sure that you and your department has the right data and access to that data to make better financial decisions. And just some of the key aspects of achieving that level of accuracy we'll kind of go through today include data capture. So really the latest technology to extract data from invoices and other documents. Data validation, so making sure that that data is verified against company records for both accuracy and consistency. And ultimately workflow. So fully automating your workflow, no matter what it looks like, if it's complex, if it's simple, making sure that's automated, and really streamlining your approval process to authorize invoices before they're paid. So we have a quick interaction here, which is a poll, and we're going to go ahead and flash this up if folks don't mind just completing this. I'm sure we all have our own accounts payable jokes, but this is the one that we're kind of starting with. So hopefully everyone gets this one right. And we'll give folks just a minute to complete it. All right, hopefully folks have had a chance to click on their answer here. Why don't we go ahead and put the responses up? Ah, terrific. Okay, well, interesting results there. So I guess some of us are more efficient than others when it comes to, when it comes to processing $12 invoices. Terrific. And again, I will mention that the Q&A window is open for your questions as we go. We'll probably consolidate that Q&A session to the end, but feel free at any time to go type your question in and continue to kind of interact with us. This is meant to be an interactive webinar. So before we talk about why accuracy is so important and how you achieve it, let's talk about the cost of inaccuracy, right? So what happens when you're not accurate? And we have a case study here some of you may be familiar with, which is an Australian telecommunications company, one of the largest, called Telstra, who was not too long ago penalized about $24 million for overcharging more than 6,000 customers for inactive services. Big scandal, lost a lot of customers, took a huge reputational hit. And ultimately, when Telstra kind of went back and said, why did this happen? They came up with a couple root causes there. One was just very bad integration between their various systems that needed to communicate better, validate better, match data better. Ultimately, processes that were way too manual, which meant people manually entering information increases the possibility of mistakes. And finally, just outdated employee training. Folks weren't trained and up to speed on the systems. So, I don't think anyone on this call wants to get fined $24 million for having a bad and inaccurate AP process. So I think the key takeaway here is, at the end of the day, something like this can happen to anybody, especially if you're still manual, if you're still using outdated processes, and there's a better way to do things. We have our second poll question, so if folks don't mind just clicking on the answer here. How would you rate your organization's confidence in the accuracy of its AP data? And I think we put this at the beginning because at the end of the day, that's kind of what this is about. So just looking to see what kind of confidence people have in the way you're doing things today. And hey, please be honest. All right, maybe get those final answers in, and let's put there we go, put the results up. Okay. Well, I think the good news here is that folks are either neutral or above. I don't see any not very confident, so that's terrific. And I think what answers these say to me is that, again, most smart organizations, financial organizations, figure out a way to get it done and a way to do all this stuff. Wouldn't it be great if you didn't have to worry about that and it was all automated and you had a system that could move you into that very confident bracket? So let's talk a little bit about that and how it's achieved. I mentioned a couple of key areas at the beginning. The first of those that we're going to start with is technology. So from a technology standpoint, the kind of incumbent when it comes to intelligent document processing is something called OCR, which is optical character recognition. So OCR has been around for 15 plus years. It's typically associated with RPA, robotic process automation systems. And at the time, it was a pretty good technology. It generally reads about 1 in 2 invoices, which compared to completely manual is better. And for what it does, which is the same thing over and over, it's been pretty good for a lot of organizations. The good news is that this technology has evolved, and it's evolved using AI and AI related technology to what we now call ICR, or intelligent character recognition. And if I was going to kind of characterize what ICR is it's a technology that allows a system to read a document like a person would. So you can scan over the document, you can look for context, you can understand subtleties in whether something says invoice number, INV number, or just number. It can look through multiple pages. It can read blurry inputs. It can read handwritten inputs. That's what ICR does. It's really an intelligent document processing system that ultimately gives you a much higher rate of document extraction accuracy than anything that OCR can achieve without massive customization and years of training. So whereas OCR on day one might be at 50 to 55% accuracy, so extracting all the data from 1 and 2 invoices, ICR generally starts at about 80 to 85%. So what that means is that extracting the data accurately, all the data from 8 or 9 of 10 invoices. So right away, you can see the difference between the two. It's not quite doubling it, but it's not too far away. And what ICR also does, excuse me, since it's AI-based technology, is it learns and gets better as you use it. So it does increase in accuracy over time. We have many customers, as I'll talk about in just a little bit, who are well above 95% accuracy today, meaning that for every 10 invoices, 9 are extracted completely. Just stop for a minute and think what that would mean for you, the work you do every day, your organization. For a lot of us, it means that it would free up a ton of time to concentrate on more important things. And that, just by virtue of the technology, is something that you can achieve today. So when it comes to ICR technology, again, we have a great frame of reference in just what we're doing at E42. Couple things I'll mention is that ICR technology can read documents regardless of the format. So whether or not it's a highly structured invoice, semi-structured, or even unstructured, where it could be as an email, another type of a document that has no structure to it as well. ICR can read and understand that document and do so very, very well. It also takes advantage of AI and related technologies. So things like LMMs that can extract, synthesize, and validate invoice data, and do so with both precision and accuracy. As I mentioned, an ICR system reads a document like a person, and what that allows you to do is, again, get the full context of the document and extract that data at a very accurate rate and with far fewer errors. And then ultimately, the learning and improvement, just being able to start already at a high bar, which is 80%, 85% on day one, and then add another 10% over the upcoming months as you train the system, as it learns, as it begins to get better at what's there. This is a system that will improve over time, and it requires, frankly, very little intervention and training from you, which contributes to just a much better total cost of ownership. Let me move on here. So we talked a little bit about straight-through processing and the ability to achieve end-to-end automation. I mean, let's all be honest here. If you have to do manual things, it's not automation. It's partial automation. And so the more of your process that you can fully automate, the better. And some of that goal for STP, straight through processing, should really be about 90%. And if you're looking at systems, assessing systems, I would set your sights high, and I would not talk to, assess anybody that can't give you that 90% and prove it. So what's really important to achieving that kind of rate when it comes to straight through processing? The first is data validation. So not just flagging inaccuracies, but also automating the data process so that manual entry errors are virtually eliminated. Making sure that a system reflects your workflow, can be customized, whether your workflow is strange, difficult, complex, or simple. The system configures to your workflow, not the other way around. You don't have to come in and change your processes. We talked a little bit about image processing with ICR, so reading any kind of document that you throw at a system like this. And finally, the ability to interface and have a fully directional integration with your ERP system, which again is that single source of truth, the most important system out there, making sure that that information is both exchanged and done so very efficiently. So we have a quick poll that's going to come up here, and hopefully people are able to click and enter their information here. What percentage of invoices require manual correction due to errors? I think this is a pretty revealing question, and one of the questions that we ask a lot of people when we start talking to them about how we can help them improve their AP process. So certainly curious to see what everyone on the call answers on this. All right, let's get those final answers in and maybe show those results. I think this will be pretty revealing. Okay, so it looks like the vast majority of folks are anywhere from 10 to 30%. So again, you're looking at anywhere from a 70 to 90% accuracy rate there. So, that's good. I'd say for all of these answers, it also leaves a little bit of room for improvement. In some cases, more room for improvement. So we'll talk a little bit about how we can help you achieve that. But thank you for the answers on that. Terrific. So as far as looking at invoices and matching that up against the existing data that you have to ensure data accuracy, folks have different ways of doing that. Some can do it simply with invoice, PO, and delivery receipt. Other folks want further points of validation. The good news is with an automated system, especially an advanced AI-based automated system, you can put in as many matching parameters as you choose to, which we call N-way matching. We have one client that I think is up at 53 or 54 different data points that they want to validate before an invoice is sent for payment. Probably more than most of the folks on the call, but that just gives you a sense of just how flexible and powerful this matching can be. And certainly that N-way matching process and having that automated and accurate gives you some pretty significant benefits in your organization, making sure there are no duplicates that are paid out. We've probably all done it, hopefully not that many times, but, creates a difficult situation, both reputationally, as well as, frankly, having to claw that money back. Discrepancies in quantities or prices happens all the time. You have a negotiated price, you get charged something different. Why did that happen? What's the discrepancy and how do we fix it? Reducing fraud. So making sure that, again, the vendor is validated, that the other information within an invoice is validated before you move it forward. Ultimately, for your organization, improving the cash flow, improving the reporting and visibility into cash flow, your audit trail, making sure that there's accountability through the financial system. And if there are any discrepancies later, you can go pull all this data up and kind of track that down and determine the root cause. And ultimately giving you better just visibility and control over your financial process. So what will kind of a top tier automation system do with accuracy in mind? It will have advanced matching algorithms. So sophisticated algorithms that can accurately match invoice data with POs and contracts. It will take advantage of other advanced technology like machine learning to do things like pattern recognition. Matching is correct even for complex or non-standard documents. Hey, this vendor always pays us 5,000, or we always pay this vendor $5,000. This bill's for 25. Maybe we want to flag that because this is different than what we've seen historically. And ultimately, with just the enhanced accuracy of an automated system, that time savings that's there. And what I might ask folks is, how much of your day is spent doing manual things that could be automated, entering those invoices, doing the matching between your ERP, your GL, and the invoice data. Kind of all those manual tasks to say, gee, if it only freed me up, I could work on these three other things that are a higher priority for me. That ultimately is, I think, the main benefit, as well as some key benefits you see here below, just for the overall organization. So fraud reduction, improving that cash flow, making sure you're in compliance, especially for those of us in highly regulated industries, and just that better kind of visibility and control over your financial data. So a system that truly kind of helps you achieve the highest level of accuracy in the validation process will do a couple things for you. It will validate across multiple dimensions. So and again, you can determine what those are. It will allow you to kind of set your criteria and your business rules to determine if a transaction and invoice is valid. It will give you a very easy way to handle exceptions and make sure those are flagged and directed to the right folks. And ultimately, the best practices that an automation solution can help you put in place are ultimately things like standardization, making sure that there are clear guidelines and procedures for your data, your documents, to ensure consistency across the organization. Regular reviews, making sure that there's continuous improvement in the results that you have and the way that you're doing things. Employee training, that ended up being a huge Achilles heel for Telstra, right? Is the fact that people weren't trained on these systems, didn't know how to use them, and made mistakes. Ended up costing them a lot of money. So making sure that, again, the ability to train employees on what needs to be done and the correct ways to do it. And ultimately just maintaining the highest level of data quality within the ERP system and making sure that that single source of truth can be matched against what you're doing in your AP process. So the kinds of validation that, again, a top-tier system will do to help you really ensure that highest degree of accuracy, things like, validating against your vendor master, making sure this is a valid vendor before you even proceed with extraction. The price validation. So again, making sure that your negotiated price, agreed upon price, or price book reflects what's in the invoice itself. So tax validation, again, I think this is an important one because a lot of folks on the call probably handle international invoices, do business globally. And so everyone's got different tax rules. How do you keep track of those? How do you make sure those are reflected in your system in the way that you're calculating your payments and things like that? The GL validation, so accuracy of GL codes, assigning those to invoice items to assure that they're properly categorized for financial reporting. And ultimately, workflow approvals, which is implementing a multi-level approval process to authorize invoices before they're paid, which reduces the risk of unauthorized fraudulent transactions. So our final kind of high-level topic to talk about today is, when it comes to accuracy in the AP process, is really integration with your existing systems. And I think for all of us in AP, that primarily is our ERP system. So how do you maintain and achieve the highest level of accuracy when it comes to your AP process in relation to your ERP system, your single source of truth? Making sure that the data mapping is in place and correct. Identifying and kind of defining the relationships between data elements in different systems and ensuring that there's accurate and consistent data transfer. Data integrity maintains consistency of that data. So making sure that, throughout the migration and integration process, there's no data loss, there's no data corruption, whatever it might be. And integrity is obviously very important in relation to accuracy. Your ETL process, so extracting data from your source systems, transforming the data and transferring the data to match the target system's requirements, and loading the data into the target system. And then finally, precision reporting allows you to keep an eye on the whole thing, step in when needed, make sure that there's accuracy across all the systems that are hopefully working together and integrated, and just supports better decision making from your perspective, cash flow forecasting, whatever it might be. And of course, the benefits here are consistent with a lot of these other areas that we talked about. So, efficiency, reducing risk, improving compliance, and just ultimately financial kind of view and control. When it comes to ERP integrations, speaking from experience, we've pretty much worked with all of them, or most of them, I'd say. All is a pretty broad topic there. But, the good news is that with an advanced solution, an AI-based solution, generally the ability to fit that solution into your technology stack and do so seamlessly is greatly enhanced. We use APIs to connect with these systems, but even if APIs aren't available, we can still connect and still make sure that data transfer is happening here. We tend to see a lot of the big guys, so SAP, Oracle, QuickBooks, Bill.com, I think, are some of the names we see again and again with our clients. But also, if you have a smaller system, a homegrown system, a kind of market or industry specific system that is you purchase because it's mapped to the way that you do business. The good news is, again, with a flexible API-driven system, as long as those APIs are available, we can connect with it. We can send that data back and forth. And even when there aren't APIs, we can still work with systems. There are workarounds there with flat file transfers and all sorts of other ways we can go. So the good news is with your AP automation system, pretty much no matter what ERP you're using, we can find a way to work with that and make sure that that data is passing back and forth seamlessly. So here is another quick poll. Hopefully folks are engaged and ready to vote. It's number 4. And I think this one is just a quick read on your comfort level when it comes to AI, especially as it relates to AP, but also in general. Are you using AI today anywhere in the organization? Is it scary or is it something you're starting to wrap your arms around? We believe AP automation is one of the most potent applications for AI, especially as it relates to automation. And maybe we can get those results up. Okay, terrific. So I think no big surprises here. Nobody's completely gung-ho for AI. Nobody is completely averse to AI, but everyone's kind of somewhere in the middle. And for our organization, this is really what we're here to help you with is giving you that information you need to get more confident with AI and really explore what it can do for you, especially as it relates to greater accuracy in your AP process. So let's spend just a minute talking about what a top-tier solution provider brings to the table and can offer you and what they do to help you implement these solutions. I'm going to use E42 as an example because it's the one we know the best. And I certainly invite you to get in contact with us to find out more if this is something that resonates. So our approach to automating AP is through what we call an AI coworker for AP. Your AI coworker is a smart electronic colleague that can sit right next to you in the office, virtually, of course, and really take that manual and time-consuming work off your plate and allow you to focus on more important areas. So that's what we do is we provide these coworkers that you can configure for your business, integrate with your ERP, put in and start seeing results from really on day one. And ultimately, a lot of the best practices that we talked about are inherent in this coworker. So end-to-end automation. Again, our goal there is 90% straight through processing, making sure that no matter what your workflow looks like, the system can accommodate it, can reflect that. If you have multiple workflows, being able to develop all those streams and make sure that, again, invoices are handled the right way. We talked a little bit about ICR technology. Again, would you rather buy a 15-year-old technology or the new technology that's new but been proven? And not only that, we can show you how it works, especially using some of your invoices and some of your examples. ICR is just a game changer when it comes to extracting data from documents. And I invite everyone to take a closer look at it because it's really, really important and just key to this overall process and accuracy. And then finally, hey, we're all financial people on the call, right? So what's the total cost of ownership? What's the ROI for a system like this? The good news is for a fully automated system, especially an AI-based system, that total cost of ownership is very low, especially compared to, say, an RPA system using our OCR, which, as many of you may know and experience, requires constant training, a new invoice format, a new vendor, whatever it might be. You have to step in and you have to retrain it. It takes time, takes effort. You got to do it all over again. The next time it sees something else it doesn't recognize. With an AI-based system using ICR, you don't have to do that. System learns on its own, absorbs that with minimal guidance, and gets better as it goes. And I think we as an organization kind of stand by the results that we generate for our clients, which is at the end of the day, what's really important. So over 10 million invoices processed, 20 plus integrations with ERP systems, 95% accuracy rate on invoice processing. We have some clients who are even higher than that, 90% straight through processing, ROI in 8 weeks. And if you're an international company, 50 plus languages supporting, including international currencies. And what I'll kind of end with here is a case study for one of our clients, which is a major automotive manufacturer. And this organization had some challenges. They had some problems. So their AP process was inefficient. They were growing, and so they saw it scaling. And their solution for this inefficient AP process was to kind of throw bodies at it. So do more hiring in the AP group, grow that up, and of course the associated costs and training and everything else that came with that. A lot of their process was manual, so they were doing this invoice, this matching, the validation, all manually, and that was taking up a lot of time. It was all a lot of these people were doing all day. And the other part that they came to us and asked about was, hey, we have mistakes. Some of these mistakes are costing us money. They're affecting our business. Hey, E42, can you help us? Can you help us improve in this process? And so we brought in one of our AI coworkers for AP. And I think that the results have been pretty profound and pretty impressive with what we've done there. So they're actually at 96% accuracy in their invoice processing, which is not inconsistent with some of our other longer term customers and what they've seen. What that's done is it's helped save them 100 person days a month. So think about what you could be doing with that time in terms of managing cash flow better, improving your relationships with key vendors, things like that. 5,000 invoices processed a month, and that's growing. So this is a system that can scale with you. And ultimately, just a better all-around experience, both for the AP team, because let's not forget about that as well, right? If you have better systems that help you, frankly, you have a better day. You can focus on more important things you want to do, rather than things you have to do. And ultimately, a happier supply chain, happier vendors that are out there as well, which is also key in this organization. So I think for now, that's what I was hoping to cover. I hope it was helpful. And I believe we're going to switch over to Q&A. Happy to field the questions as they come in.
Thanks, Jonathan. We've got a few questions here. The first one, how long does it typically take to deploy an automated AP process? And then when can the ROI be expected, generally speaking?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Typically to deploy an AP AI coworker, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks, all said. So month and a half to 2 months. And really, you see ROI there on day one. The day you go live with that coworker, you're going to see an improvement in your accuracy rates and less manual work that needs to be completed, things like that. One of the reasons we can offer that and provide that and meet that is that this is a no-code system, so it doesn't require massive programming efforts, doesn't require customers needing to know AI or having AI programmers. Everything's done through a GUI and very easy to configure. And I would say that this is a key kind of area to look at if you're considering AP automation, and ask other vendors what their implementation processes look like, because we feel like we're pretty streamlined and efficient to get you to ROI. And a lot of our competition, we feel, is double that to get there. So, again, I think one of the big benefits that we can provide, given the kind of company and the technology we're using.
Next question. We still get some handwritten invoices from some of our European vendors. Can these still be automated?
Yeah, another great question. So yes, I mean, is the very simple answer there. Handwritten invoices, ICR technology can handle handwritten invoices, usually not a problem. And what I would say there is that if a person can read it, an ICR system can read it. So if some handwriting is completely you're unable to read it. With a system like ours, again, as long as you can read it as a person, the system can read it. And the good news is it can read multiple languages. So if you receive something in German, French, in another language, it can read it, translate it to your kind of language of choice when it comes to financial data. So again, the power of the system is that it can really handle any kind of a document that comes your way, no matter how unstructured, how basic it is, things like handwritten invoices. And it can also translate across multiple languages. So extremely flexible, extremely powerful in that way.
Next question. We use a niche ERP system that's built for warehousing that didn't see on your list. Would that be, could we still integrate that with your automation process?
Sure, sure. And the list isn't exhaustive. Obviously, it's one slide. So don't want to put too many logos in there. But the answer to that question is, if the APIs are available to that system, yes, unequivocally. And if they're not available, then probably still yes. We would want to take a closer look at it, get in touch with your IT team, take a look at that. But even for niche systems that don't have APIs, we have done integrations. There are ways around that. There are workarounds, other solutions to help make sure that that data is exchanged. So what I'd say is, feel free to get in contact with us. We're happy to dig down deeper on that with you and see what's possible.
Great. Next question. I think this is something that's pretty common here. Our team has 4 AP team members. How would this automated process work with multiple people or employees?
Yeah. So usually a system and automation system like ours requires probably 1 or 2 people just to check in with it, to look at exceptions, to whenever something comes up that needs some attention, usually there's one person, maybe two, that take care of that. So the good news is that it doesn't require a lot of maintenance and a lot of time and effort, and they do it part-time, right? So at the end of the day, they might bring up their dashboard and look at, are there any items that require my attention? And meanwhile, in the background, the system is chugging along, processing 500 invoices, right? All the way through, straight through processing. So usually the upkeep of the system, kind of ongoing maintenance and checking of the system, is pretty minimal, usually a person. Generally with those other folks, again, what this system is going to do is take a lot of the work that they're probably doing manually today and take it off their plate. So really freeing them up to go focus on some of those other high value activities we've talked about, cash flow analysis, reporting, other areas of value that are, frankly, more interesting and more valuable overall to the company and to their role than just typing in an invoice or going back and forth on two screens between an ERP and the invoice. So the good news is the upkeep is minimal. Usually you're going to have one person that, has got a dashboard and is bringing up these exceptions, checking on them, maybe doing a little system training, and everyone else is freed up to do other things. And so we've seen that time and time again where folks were able to take away kind of the manual drudge work and move on to more important, more challenging, more value-added activities. So that's the impact that I would expect.
All right. I think this is the last question here. What are some of the other use cases that can be automated for finance teams?
Yep, and another great question. So immediately what comes to mind is AR. We do have an AR coworker that can help automate that process. Certainly, getting paid is a process that's near and dear to all of our hearts. So, for finance, AP is what we talked about today, but extending that to AR, and not only that, we have clients that have both. And so they have an AP coworker and an AR coworker that communicate with each other and exchange information back and forth. And really where, there's a nexus between those two, they can kind of join that together, which just increases the intelligence and efficiency of the organization overall. And ultimately, again, gives you a much better sense of cash flow forecasts and things along those lines because again, the data is all captured within these two systems and made in a presentable format where you can report on it. I think that reporting is also a big part of it. So, we have clients that have a Gen AI front end where they can go ask financial or invoice questions to the system and get an answer back. We're a platform. And that platform includes different AI technology, including Gen and conversational AI. So if you'd like to have a way to query your system and get those answers back through like a Gen AI interface, we can do that. We work with HR. We automate HR processes. We work with customer success. We work with sales and marketing. Anybody that has a manual, time-consuming, document-heavy process that they feel like they could do better with, that's kind of our bread and butter. That's what we do. So great applications for finance, but also for a lot of the other parts of the organization.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan. I think we'll go ahead and wrap up the webinar for today. So I want to thank everybody for their time and participation. As far as next steps go, we'll be sending out a follow-up email, which will include the slide deck we covered, along with the recording from the webinar, in case any of you would like to share that with other stakeholders or team members. And what we'll also include in that email is going to be a link to Jonathan's calendar. I'm sure some of you are interested in talking a little bit more about, your current AP process, some of your challenges, and hopefully, we can work together on kind of outlining an AI roadmap for your organization. So once again, thank you. That concludes our webinar.
Thank you.